Hi, everyone. For this session of Litera TV, we'll be talking about some of the useful features of Metadact, including sensitive data handling and data loss prevention. I'm Ivan Martinez, and I'm one of the solutions engineers here at Litera. Joining me today are some of my colleagues from Litera's Global Solutions Engineering team from around the world. First up, we have our sensitive data handling guru, Matt Sermon, based in the United Kingdom.
Thanks, Ivan. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Matt. And we also have the master of Metadact, Dennis Tamadong, based out of Manila in the Philippines.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Ivan.
Hey, Dennis. I myself am based here in the United States. For those of you who are not as familiar with our solution, what is Metadact? Okay, let's see if I can do this in one take. Metadact is a metadata management solution that automatically identifies hidden data and cleans it from files, attaching clean versions to emails, and helps protect against common email recipient mistakes. Nailed it.
There you go.
Good.
All right. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the fun stuff. For that, I will hand you off to Matt to show us more detail on Metadact sensitive data handling.
Thanks, Ivan.
Great.
Okay. Okay, so I'd like to really talk about some of the day-to-day email disasters that we can all run into and ways that we can avoid them. We've all been there. An urgent email arrives. You need to respond as soon as possible. I still haven't received the report for today's meeting in 30 minutes. It's all too easy to click the dreaded reply to all button. The next thing you know, your email's gone out to all recipients, possibly the entire firm. There are ways to avoid that. It's at moments like that you wish you had Metadact installed with sensitive data handling running on your computer. And I'll show you how we can configure Metadact to prevent those sorts of disasters. So you head to the Litera Ribbon, and here you can see the Metadact buttons that we've already got laid out there. And if we click on the question mark, the about, we can then see sensitive data handling settings. And that's where all of these really useful features live. So I'll click on that. That brings up a whole set of options here. And for that particular issue, what I want to do is set an alert when the number of recipients is greater than. So what I'll do, I'll tick that. I want to be warned when I'm replying to more than, you can set the number of recipients. For this example, I'll just say more than one. I'll click OK. Click OK. Let's head back to that email. Here we go. In a panic, I go to click reply all. Unfortunately, with sensitive data handling enabled, I get a warning. Are you sure you wish to reply to all? So that way I'm alerted to it. I can click cancel and go back in there and just do a normal reply. And that's just really an easy way to avoid those real common pitfalls that everybody runs into. There are a whole host of other really useful features within sensitive data handling. I'm just going to talk through them now. Okay, so here we are. We're back in that control panel. We can see the option that I've set here. Another really useful feature is to be warned if you're applying and you're a BCC recipient. Of course, it could be embarrassing. You reply to all. Other recipients on that email don't realize that you're a BCC recipient and you've kind of given the game away. You've replied to all and it could be embarrassing. So we can always set a warning if we're replying to as a BCC recipient. We could actually completely disable replying to all if we reach a certain number of recipients. But maybe if you have 20 recipients in that email and you just want to say, no, I want to stop, I want to disable replying to that many, we can always enable that here and set the number that we want. So if I head down, get some other really useful features here. So we can see prevent and warn. So we can prevent or warn if we're sending emails to a specified domain or individual email addresses, you may have a sensitive client and you just want to have a warning if you're replying to an email or sending an email to that particular address. Now, what's really useful here, if we click on warn when sending emails to the specified domain, we can add specific domains that we want to be warned about, or we can leave that blank. And where that's really useful, you may have some internal emails going back and forth and somebody adds in an external recipient and you haven't realized that. And you go to reply all and it will warn you, Metadact will warn you if you've replied to all and there is now an external recipient in that email. So you'll get a prompt so you know to ensure that that email is written appropriate for external recipients as well. So if we scroll down, okay, another great feature here to do with BCC recipients. So when you send an email, you've added a BCC recipient, you may be concerned that they will make that mistake and reply to all themselves. And we can completely avoid that. So what we can do is enable splitting of BCC recipients. And so the BCC recipient will receive their own email and they won't see the recipient. So it means that they can't accidentally reply to all. It just completely prevents that kind of issue from happening. So a really handy feature there that kind of stops those embarrassing mistakes. Okay, just going to continue moving on. So the last thing we can see here, email classifications. This is really handy if you want to send, if you want to add a specific like private and confidential, you can add a text banner. And if you wanted for some classifications, you could add CCC recipients automatically there. So if you're always sending out a regular type of email and you want to have a banner and you want the CCC field to be populated automatically, that's a really useful feature that you can use. In fact, I'll just start an email. Yep, sorry, Ivan.
Yeah, what's the benefit of that classification?
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking. What I'll do, it's probably best if I actually go into an email and I'll give you a quick demo and show you how that works. So I'll click OK to that. Click OK. Then let's compose a new email. Okay, so what we have here is a drop down and we can see the preset banners that I've got set up here. So if I click on Solutions Engineer, automatically we get this email is internal only for Solutions Engineers. We can see the banner and we can see that the CCC field has automatically been populated with the email address that I specified. Of course, this is all customizable. You can add your own banners, you can add your own CC recipients. So it's all completely customizable depending on your requirements. So really useful feature there.
Perfect, thanks.
Thanks for asking, Ivan. Okay, I'll just close that window. Okay, so I've taken you through some of the useful features of sensitive data handling. We'll just head back to the Litera Ribbon. And just that many of you will already be familiar with the Metadact ribbon, but I'll just talk you through some of the features that we can see here. Immediately on the left, you can just turn it off completely. And that just effectively disables Metadact and you kind of just send emails as normal, but that's something that we won't want to do. We want to ensure that all emails are cleaned of any risky metadata on the way out. So I'll enable that. So we can then see the other options. Alerts. Okay, so generally we will want all metadata to be cleaned on outgoing emails, but there are certain types of metadata, and generally they are track changes and comments that we may be collaborating with external users, external colleagues of ours, and we want to leave track changes and comments in to make sure that we're exchanging our thoughts on that document. So we can enable alerts so that if track changes or comments are detected, we get presented with a pop-up that gives us a choice. Do you want to keep those track changes and comments, or do you want to accept them? And so we get that choice every time we're sending an email, and we can leave those alerts on, or if we don't need them on, we can turn them off. They're a really useful feature there. for those specific types of metadata. We can also clean metadata as we're composing an email on the go. And another really useful feature here are profiles. So we can have our own firm-wide profiles or our own personal profiles that clean specific metadata that we want cleaned. Okay, so these three areas here are dealing with the alerts that I mentioned earlier. So there's shortcuts to change our default settings for track changes and comments, and we can quite easily change them all from the ribbon. So it's really easy to change those settings. So they're the real main components of the metadata cleaning. But we do get extra features as well. On the way out, we can convert our attachments to PDFs or PDFAs. We can also secure those PDFs with a password to allow the recipients to do, what we choose with these PDF files.
And Matt, it does look like everything is separated by file type. Am I reading that correctly? So you have Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got our Word documents. So that would affect the track changes and comments really in that area just affect Word documents. And then the middle section here, the track changes, comments, and formulas are just specific to Excel. And with PowerPoint, we don't have track changes, but we do have notes and comments. So we can just tailor that to our specific document types as well. Exactly.
And I am noticing some additional features that I don't find familiar in Metadact on the right. Change Pro?
Sure, yeah, very, very observant there, Ivan. So over here, this is actually Change Pro. So it's another product, but our products do integrate with each other. So that's why we can see them all neatly arranged in the Litera ribbon here. So that's Change Pro, and that's a document comparison product. So we can compare different Word documents or PDF documents, Excel spreadsheets, and be presented with those differences. So it's a really useful product, and that integrates into the same ribbon that we see here.
So you're saying as we add additional Litera products, they can be added into this one convenient ribbon?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so it's really easy to access all of the Litera tools from one area. Exactly.
Wonderful.
Just want to add on that. However, you could customize the ribbon. So if you want a specific, let's say for Change Pro, you want its own ribbon, you could create its own ribbon. But by default, it's going to be placed in the same Litera ribbon.
Yep. Thanks for clarifying that, Dennis. Exactly. Yeah.
And are all these options customizable? Can we? I saw that you turned cleaning off, but can we enforce that, or maybe enforce alerts?
Yeah, exactly. So of course, different firms have their own policies, and it may be that a specific firm never wants to allow users to disable metadata cleaning because it's too risky to send those emails out unclean. So, yeah, absolutely. We can actually remove these buttons and only present users with the buttons that they need to be able to use Metadact. Exactly.
Perfect.
Great. So thanks, everyone. I hope you guys have found that useful. And that sort of rounds up the sensitive data handling. And now what I'm going to do is pass on to Ivan, who's going to go through some really useful DLP features.
Great. Thanks, Matt. I just
Thank you.
Share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. As Matt just demonstrated to us, there can be many common situations where someone may send an email that contains sensitive data. These emails can lead to an embarrassing moment or have serious consequences. Utilizing a tool like sensitive data handling in Metadact can help prevent these situations. Matt was able to show you some of the user-facing options with sensitive data handling, most of which are available on the desktop or in Outlook. I want to now expand upon sensitive data handling and show you one of the latest features of Metadact version 4.7, data loss prevention, or DLP. DLP is a feature of Metadact server to prevent data loss from any outgoing email sent from within your organization. This email can originate from a desktop PC, OWA, or a mobile device. It is configured in the web-based admin console on the Metadact server. Now let me show you how to enable and configure DLP. So as you can see, I am in our data loss prevention area within the Metadact server admin console. DLP is an optional feature, so it can be toggled on and off on demand. The moment you check it, it will be enabled, and it's going to be looking at policies that are created within this policy editor. In our policy editor, you can see that we're able to create rules, and we can make them as complex or as simple as needed to fulfill our needs. So I'll just go into this sample whitelist policy, and you can see we're naming the policy, and we're giving a description of what the policy actually does. So it's very easy for the admin to go in, see the named policies, and see what their intended use is for, and see the outcome of that policy, and if it's actually active or not active. I'll go back in. This is a fairly complex rule, but we can basically nest together conditions using and/or operators to then create our rule set. And again, then define the policy outcome. So what I'll do is, this is a more complex one, so I'll go into a little bit of a simpler scenario where we have simple yet effective policies that we can create. This policy is to block client-specific client matter numbers. So what it's doing is it's looking at attachments, and it's scanning for specific client matter numbers that are associated with an account or with a client or with a specific matter, and it's blocking that email. And what you can see here is we're looking for a custom property within the document, and that custom property that we define is client. The type of custom property is text, and we have other options available. The text equals to something that we define in the next box, but we can say contains, starts with, ends with, etc. And in our case, our client is client 1, 2, 3. Using the and operator, I could have an and or. I can now have client and matter. So if I go back in, we're also looking for another custom property that says matter. It's a text. It's equal to matter number 5555. As long as the client and the matter meet this criteria that we specified, the outcome of this policy will be to block the email. So this is taking a hard stance. This is more like we're not letting this go out because this violates firm policy and it's completely being blocked. So we can stop the email, but we're going to notify the user that the email is being blocked. We can also give them some sort of direction of how to proceed or some sort of instruction as to what's happening and why the email was actually blocked. We can tell them to contact their manager or department head or an admin for help. And we can also specify an additional DL list. You can specify an admin or a manager, another email list here or email address here that will get a copy of this email stating that this email was blocked and it violated firm policy. If I go into this log email sent to Gmail, this is a little bit different in which we're monitoring for Gmail or emails that are going to Gmail, but we're not blocking, we're now gonna log. So I go into that, same thing, policy name, email sent to gmail.com will be logged. And what we're looking for here is that the recipient's email address contains gmail.com. If there's an outgoing email that has gmail.com in it, the outcome is then going to be to log the email as opposed to taking that hard stance of blocking. So this is more of a soft approach where we're going to allow the email to pass through, but we are going to notify the sender and notify an admin, a manager, a distribution group that this policy was violated, but it will be logged for further audits or future audits. And in our last policy here, we have block Yahoo. And this is taking, again, that hard stance of blocking any emails going to the yahoo.com domain. So as I showed before, policy name, the description, and we're looking for that condition that the recipient email address contains yahoo.com. If that condition is met, we would then block the email, send a notification back to the user with instructions on how to proceed, and notify an admin, a distribution group, or manager. So I'm going to pass over to Dennis to show you these in action.
All right, thanks, Matt. Oh, sorry, Ivan. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and please let me know if you see my screen.
Yep, I can see it.
All right, perfect. Okay, so before I actually get into the demo, I just want to make a quick shout out to our product and development team for the tremendous amount of work and efforts that they have put into making sure that each of our products are better now than they were yesterday. So huge thanks to you guys. Okay, so this Metadact server component that I will show you today is actually a functionality that came with the WordShare Protect server. So for those of you who may have seen this in the demo, this will be a very familiar feature to you. And just a very quick trivia here as well. So for those who may not be aware, the Metadact product that you see today is actually a combined functionality of 4 different products. Yep, you heard it right. It's 4 different products. So it's Metadact Smart Send, which actually is the SDH features that Matt has showed us earlier. And 3B Clean, which also a server-based metadata cleaner. And this latest one, it's WordShare Protect. So it's 4 different products. One of our goals every time we work with similar products, across the Litera portfolio is to get a feature parity of these products, take out the best functionality that matters most out of these products and they just combine and put them together in just one single solution. So that's what you get with the Metadact now. And we won't stop there for sure. I'm pretty sure there's more to come. So, stay tuned. Okay, so going to the DLP functionality. So as I said earlier, it's part of that Metadact and WordShare Protect integration. Actually, the efforts started around Q4 of last year, wherein we took out all the metadata that WordShare Protect cleans, and then we incorporated those with Metadact. So Metadact now can clean all metadata that WordShare Protect cleans. So this DLP feature has been introduced to Metadact for our Q1 release. So it's a very new functionality. Okay, so let's get into the demo. So I have here the policy editor. And Ivan has showed you earlier what these policy editor could do. So as you can see here, I have all the DLP policies that I've created. You can see the status of these policies. And I have quite a few numbers of policies here, but I only have like 2 policies active, meaning they're enabled and they're being enforced. I'll focus more on these 2 policies here. So the very first one is a log to a specific domain. So logging is good if you're like tracking emails that are being sent to, just an example, if you could track emails sent to gmail.com or AOL.com or yahoo.com. So you could create a DLP policy for that to log outbound emails going to that domain. So what this policy does is just basically log an email if it's sent to this domain, right? So what happens is that email is still going to go through Metadact processing. So it's still going to be cleaned by the Metadact server. It's, it can be converted to PDF or whatever the cleaning policy is converted or configured for that sender. So let me switch to my Outlook screen here and just going to show you how that works. So I have here an email and I'm going to send this to this recipient, and this recipient has that domain that's supposed to trigger or violate that policy. And I just pick a random attachment here. So I'm going to go ahead and send this email. What happens? That email goes through Exchange. It gets routed to the Metadact server, and it gets checked for any violated policy. Now I receive an email, pretty instantly, telling me, hey, your email has been logged, but it has been sent. So it's telling me here that the email has been sent, but it's logged with the information security team. And it's telling me here what the document or the attachment and the policy that was triggered. This part of the notification can be customized by the admin. So you could put in, useful information like remediation emails as to what the users can do if they need to fix the email and try to resend. But for this particular example, the email went through, it got processed by Metadact, it's just logged, and a notification was sent immediately back to the sender. Okay, so going back to the policy editor. So the next policy that I have enabled here is to block a certain custom property. So I have a client and editor here. So I'm just going to take a quick look at that policy. As Ivan mentioned, a policy has these components. So you have the name of the policy, the description, and then your conditions right here. So my condition is the document custom property client should have this value here. So Wayne Enterprises, and then the editor is Bruce Wayne. So the document should meet these conditions in order for this policy to be violated. So the third component is the action. So what happens if the policy is violated? So as Ivan mentioned, it could either be blocked or logged. So in this case, it's going to be blocked. So what happens if a policy is triggered and the action is to block the email? That email is completely destroyed. It's taken out of the mail flow and it's completely destroyed. So basically, Metadact is ending the life out of that mail. So I'm going to go ahead and send an email here to a recipient. I'm going to put a subject, and then I'm going to be attaching a document that is going to trigger that policy. So before I hit send here, I'm just going to quickly open the attachment. Just wanted to show you that this document here has those custom properties that I've configured in my block policy. So I'm going to go to the custom tab here. Yeah, so as you can see here, client, it's actually that, and the editor. So I'm pretty sure that this document will trigger that, or that will violate that policy. So I'm going to go ahead and send this now. And again, that email goes through Exchange, goes to the Metadact server, and checks for any violated policies. So I got a reply back from Metadact server immediately telling me, okay, so your email has been blocked, and this time it's telling me that it's not sent. So that's the big difference there. Again, this email is not going out. It's been taken out of the mail flow and it's been completely destroyed. So this part here, it's telling me again the policy that's been triggered. And this time I added, a few tips here, like an advice to the sender, that if you want to be able to send this email, you could, like run local metadata cleaning or contact your IT security team and you could resend it. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the DLP functionality. Again, data loss prevention is, a great feature where it ensures that firms' sensitive data are not shared to authorized or unauthorized recipients, and it can prevent end users from accidentally or maliciously sharing data that could, put the firm at risk. And if you want to learn more about Metadact and see more demos like this, you can check out our YouTube page or YouTube channel, or log on to or visit the Litera customer center at support@litera.com, or you may contact us, your support or your solutions engineering team. And with that, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.